Uhuru just wanted another log. I'd like to call up Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Could you give us some words to sum up? And we do have other speakers, including families of prisoners that we saw in the film, and I want to bring them up next after that. And we have a few other people who want to say a few words. Uhuru, Chairman.
Uhuru. Uhuru means freedom. It's a Swahili word. And we use the greeting slogan, Uhuru, freedom, every time we meet each other. You call our office any place in the world, or even our homes, you'll be greeted with the word, slogan, demand, Uhuru, freedom. And we do that because we believe that freedom is something that has to be on the minds of Black people 24 hours a day. I would like to express my appreciation to everyone who's here, especially to the family members of those who locked in these concentration camps that they call prisons, because that's what they are, concentration camps. And I have a special kind of welcome that I would share with you to Asada and Maia Lake, who are the daughters of Richard Mafundi Lake, who died in Alabama prison, who was an extraordinary heroic figure in fighting against this prison system that we've just seen visions of. Mafundi Lake was somebody who participated with our party in creating, in 1979, I think it was, the African National Freedom Prison Organization. And much of what you see there in terms of the consciousness of the prisoners in Alabama is a consequence of the incredible work, heroic work that was done by Mafundi Lake. And if you have an opportunity, I hope you get a chance to go by some of the institutions that we've created here in St. Louis, North St. Louis in particular. One of them is an institution that's designed to house African men and women who are released from these concentration camps, prison concentration camps. And they are to house people while they participate in independent work, African International Work Release Program that has been created under the leadership of the Deputy Chair, Direct Omali Yeshitela, who has been responsible for most of the economic development work that we participate in. And this institution right there off West Florissant is to house people coming out of prison, as I said, and so they have some place to stay while they're participating in these trainings, so they can not only be employed, but they can create jobs for themselves and inside the community. So they don't have to be isolated and come back to nothing, which is what usually happens if we ever live to get out of the prison. Mafundi Lake died in prison. He went to prison as a youngster, just like some of the people who you saw there, just out of childhood almost, on an incredibly minor kinds of charge, if you will. And they kept him locked up for ages. He was almost killed on more than one occasion in the prison before he was finally released. And then after he was released, with us, he participated in creating the first African Liberation Day demonstration ever happened in Birmingham, Alabama, which is where he was from. And and it was a militant demonstration. It was something that happened with an African, a black man who was the mayor there, who supposedly represents some kind of progress for black people. But you saw that prison. You saw the ones who were the tough guys, the guards who would come in to beat up people, et cetera. You saw how many of them were African black people who participate in the service of a rotten, foul social system that has no redeeming qualities at all. I just think it's important for us to understand that, and to understand that what we see in Alabama is not a fluke. It is not an anomaly. I would remind us that as Black people, our existence in this country came as a consequence of being imprisoned. That Africans are the only one in this country, only people who came to this country who did not come in looking for a better way of life. We lost the better way of life as a consequence of having been kidnapped, stripped of everything. And our existence here was like being in prison before they even created the prison system. The foundation of this prison system, Alabama played a major role in that. And we talk about things like convict releasing. So even after slavery was supposed to be over, they created laws that would make it possible to kidnap African people and arrest us and then lease us out. This slavery is supposed to be over, then they would lease us out to the same ones who held us as captive on plantations in this country. They made millions and millions, billions of dollars as a consequence of that. The whole South was rebuilt as a consequence of African enslaved labor. And it was better off after the so-called emancipation, after the so-called Civil War, the South was better off than it was before because of Black convict leasing. So I want to say that I think it's important for us to understand. I'm going to appreciate again the people who participated in this and these courageous young men and women there. But you and I have to move beyond simply protest, because that's all we do, because we are living as a colonized population. Many of us have been pushed into some presumption that what happens to us is because white people don't like us, or because of racism, if they say. But there is no cure for that. Or if there is a cure for that, it's mysterious. What we do know is that there is a cure for colonialism. And that is what people went to prison for that broke our movement up. The Fred Hamptons that most of you don't know, may not know about. The Malcolm X was engaged in the struggle against colonialism. And Black people all around the world had identified the contradiction was colonial. And what is colonialism? Colonialism is when a foreign power takes away the liberty, the freedom, and the resources. It's a hostile foreign entity that benefits economically and politically from the oppression of a people. And that's what has happened. And we don't recognize that it's a hostile foreign entity because we live on the same land. But that's not who we are. And suddenly, I just think it's really important for us to understand that there is a social system that has come into existence as a consequence of the attack on Africa, the kidnapping of Black people, and the free labor for hundreds of years. So it's not peculiar to the Alabama prison system or any prison system in this country. What is the prison system anyway? It is an organ of the state. What is the state? I'm not talking about the state of Alabama, the state of Missouri. I'm talking about the state. I'm talking about what you begin to hear more and more about under this administration, like deep state and stuff like that. It is the entity of massive kind of construction that controls prison systems, the court system. All of this like is the state. And when you have an elections in this country, generally speaking, it's a nonviolent contest between continuing sectors of the white ruling class about who's going to control the state, who's going to control the CIA, who's going to control the FBI, who's going to control the prison system, who's going to control the court system, et cetera. These are institutions of colonial state power. And what we live in is a situation where 600 years ago, Africa was attacked by the Portuguese. And they began the process of kidnapping Black people and dispersing us against our will, forcible dispersal of African people around the world, and denied us a national identity. We no longer are a nation, we are a race. What the hell is a race? They take away our identity as a nation of oppressed people and make us a race that has no identity as such. Anyway, that's what we're looking at here. And what I mean by we have to go beyond protests is I mean that we have to begin to tie our protests to other deeper objectives of having control of our own lives, of being a self-governing people. Because as long as somebody else is controlling us, we will be treated any way they want to treat us. If we can't feed, clothe, and house ourselves, those who are feeding, clothing, and housing us when they want to will stop feeding, clothing, and housing us when they want to. And if they don't feed, clothe, and house ourselves, what they do is they have a public policy of police containment of Black people. It's a public policy. That's why it's happening all over the country. And what we have to demand for ourselves is a public policy of economic development. We want our resources back. We want everything you've stolen from us, we want it back. They say cut back, we say payback. They lock us up, steal everything we've got, makes it impossible or nearly impossible for us to live, and criminalize us for what it is that they've done to us. So I just wanted to say that. I want to say also, we got to stop apologizing for people who are locked up in the prisons. They didn't lock themselves up. They were locked up by the same system that kidnapped and brought us here. And what they have, and who makes define what a crime is? It's the colonizer who says what a crime is. Colonialism defines what is legal, but colonialism itself is illegitimate. So I just want to say that. Let me say that when things like the Bill of Rights were created in, 96, 97 or something like this, 76, African people were property. The Bill of Rights had nothing to do with us. We were property. There was not a presumption that there were rights that we were supposed to have. When Nat Turner struck out in 1831, his slogan was strike at night and spare no one. And they rose up and struck fear into the hearts of everybody in the South. Sometimes people actually dropped dead, white people, because they heard Nat Turner was going to come. They were coming. Literally, people had heart attacks throughout the South because they heard Nat Turner was coming. Nat Turner was in Virginia, and people in Alabama were dying because they heard Nat Turner, Nat Turner, Nat Turner. But the thing is that they put him on trial once they captured him. And he was convicted at trial. And they found him guilty. He said, I don't feel guilty. But the question for you and I is, if they had found him not guilty, would he have been free? See, if they had found him not guilty, he still would have been enslaved. And that's the relationship we have to the social system. So we use and fight using the freedom that we have fought for up to now, all the democratic space that we have captured up to now, the right to vote, the right to participate in a legal lynching as opposed to being dragged to the nearest tree, that kind of thing. We're not surrendering that. We're not giving that up. We will use those things, but we use those things to elevate our situation to the point of where we can take our own power. We're going to have to take it. They ain't going to give it to us. And as you see what's happening in this country and the world today, every day there are growing threats against Black people. When you hear a president who will put National Guards in Black communities. They got them in places like Washington, D.C. You see that they're talking about putting National Guards in places like Chicago, Black communities. And they're bringing ICE right here in St. Louis. And the greatest increase of FBI agents right here in St. Louis. Black communities all around this country. And they're raising this whole terroristic, fanning the flames of hatred against African people, against colonized people, against the Mexicans, against the people living in concentration camps that they call Indian reservations. That's happening right now. And that's something that should be extraordinarily disturbing to all of us, because we don't have any power. And those who got the power, you see how they use the power against us. If we are not organized, and if we do not turn these protests that we're involved in to the greater test, the greater contest to achieve power over our own lives, we have to be a self-governing people to prevent the kind of thing that's happening to us. We say justice, justice. This system cannot provide us justice. We have to make our own justice by building our own power. So I've said too much. I want to just express my appreciation and some of the wonderful people who are in this room who've been committed to doing political work for a long time. I want to just salute Comrade Penny Hess, who you just heard from. There's Jesse Neville, who you saw a moment ago, who, along with me, was arrested on July 29th of 2022 and charged with working for Russia because I was demanding reparations for Black people, because I was involved in freedom for Black people, because we engage in transforming North St. Louis, and we'll show you it's not something that we're speculating about. We'll show you the house name for Mafundi Lake, et cetera, the kind of work that we've done. And they said, we do this, we're working for Russia. They want to put me in prison for 15 years. That was their objective. The same Justice Department that they were talking about, they hoped would rescue them from the prison system in Alabama, filed those. And that wasn't Trump. That was Biden. That was Kamala Harris and Biden who did that. So it's the nature of the system itself. And the system sometimes changes its face. Sometimes even give it a fat face, et cetera. But it carries out the same role against us. And that's what we have to be aware of. And that's what we have to fight against. And again, thank you so much. Penny Hess was arrested. Jesse Neville was arrested. 5 o'clock in the morning, pre-dawn raids, flashbang grenades, armored vehicles, drones, all of that, and scores. I don't know how many FBI agents they used to do that, to attack us. Jesse Todd came to support us. Comrade President General Zaki Baruti, they were right there standing with us, defending us against these ridiculous charges. But this is the system that we live under. And I just wanted to acknowledge that. Thank all of you, comrades from the African People's Socialist Party, Uhuru movement, and all the others who are here, African People's Solidarity Committee, Uhuru Solidarity Movement, Uhuru.
Uhuru, Chairman. Uhuru. What I would like to do is show the clip of Mafundi speaking and then have Kobina come up and with the families that we just saw on the film. Is this who we talked about?
With the families and with my ear and Asada.
I believe so. Can they come up as well? I think they're outside.
Political revolutionary activists not only in the prison system in Alabama, but throughout.
This is from 1982. Just wanted to say the first tribunal on reparations to African people in New York.
Throughout this country, I'd like to have Brother Mafundi take the witness stand.
Thank you. I'd like to say this. First, I before judge, and I wasn't on trial. who are supported and involved in the struggle towards Black liberation. I bring greetings from the Deep South, and particularly the freedom fighters in that part of America. I'd like to share with you some of my personal experiences in and outside of prison. I'd like to also share with you some of my impressions of the functions of prisons and their methodology, and how prison functions as a form of genocide. And prisons are indeed a form of genocide. But when I first went to prison, I was convicted of a crime that I didn't commit. I was sent to prison for robbery. No such robbery ever took place. I had a confrontation with a detective, and I was about 17, 18 years old at that particular time. And out of that confrontation, he promised me that he would send me to prison. And I, being naive and being, believing in the Constitution, believing in justice, and believing that innocent people can go to prison in America, I didn't take it seriously. In fact, I laughed at him. The next day, he came and got me and had a robbery warrant for me. 17-year-old white boy said I had robbed him, so he was managing a service station, and that I had robbed him, took $38 from him. Yes, I served 13 years for the allegation that I took $38 from a 17-year-old white boy. They wouldn't allow me any read material for 12 years. They put me in a cell, 5x8 cell, without benefit of any writing material, reading material, radio, TV, non-cell me for 12 years. Only thing was in that strip cell was a base basis where only cold water, running cold water. There was no bed, it was a concrete slab block. And the only time I came out of that cell was to go to a shower for 5 minutes. And if you wasn't to shower in 5 minutes, the water was cut off on you. You didn't have any control of the water. That was for 12 years. And the only way I maintained my sanity was to play known games with myself. I learned how to play chess without balls. I learned how to do things in my mind, play known games with myself. I wouldn't allow them to destroy me. I was playing. Before I went to prison, I was told, and I think in my biology class, how long a person can last without bread or water. There was a period of, I think it was 21 days, that I was supposed to go without bread or water. I was in a cell, stripped, wintertime, sub-zero degree weather, and there was no heating, no ventilation. I was supposed to lie on a concrete block, in these sub-zero temperatures. And then the guards would come by for additional punishment and throw water on the floor. It would get so cold that the only way I could sleep, I would just run in my cell until I was just completely exhausted. And I would just fall out from exhaustion and sleep. I used to psych myself up. They used to give us 3 blocks. You see the little blocks in the toilet tissue? They used to give us 3 blocks, actually counted blocks of toilet tissue. And I used to take the 3 blocks of toilet tissue and lie on the cold floor and put it on my chest and psych myself that I was covering myself with a blanket. Under severe conditions, a person play all kind of mental games with himself in order to survive. Okay. I wouldn't allow the prison custodians to get the satisfaction out of seeing me hurt, and I was hurting. I was really hurting, suffering. But each time the prison custodians would come by my cell, I would jump up and go to shower boxes, turning cartwheels, and when they leave, I fall out again. But each time I hit a key in that door, I would not give them the satisfaction of seeing me lying and suffering. I I would always jump up. Then finally, what happened, they took me out. And they told the other guards, don't put me in there anymore. I said, because I like it there. And all the while I was in prison, I never went back there again. Because they said that I liked it. That was where I wanted to be, but I didn't like it. They locked me in the cell, wouldn't allow me to have read material, write material, etc. That was the norm. That was for everybody. In fact, people wasn't reading in prison at that particular time. There wasn't even a Jet magazine in prison. All they did was follow homosexuality, drugs, and that type of thing, gambling and so forth. But when I came in, I think I was representative of a new breed of prisoners that was coming in. I think maybe I was a vanguard in Alabama anyway, of another young new breed of prisoners that came with progressive things in their mind, came cloaked in a sense of dignity and manhood that refused to compromise. And
Yeah, that was Mafundi Lake speaking at the first tribunal on reparations to African people in Brooklyn, New York in 1982. Very powerful. And you can read that in the book, The Verdict Is In, which you can get through Burning Spear Publications. And I'd like to bring up Red Kobina Bantushango, member of the African People's Socialist Party, and bring up others.
Uhuru. Yeah, I really appreciate being here and acknowledge the significance of what we experienced. And I have to, first give, props to my leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela. As we was looking at some of the properties that the chairman was talking about today, me and my cousin Ann and cousin Clara, I was showing them the book and telling them the story about how I met the movement and reading OI Speaks, it has changed my life. It helped me see that's what I've been looking for my whole life. And I want to say that because I want to put it in context that the significance of like how courageous these guys are in doing the work in the prison now, and to really politicize that, you had to have a Mafundi that was a part of this process and the work that he was doing. And I was talking to them earlier too about how Melvin and Mafundi, like the relationship that they had. And you can look on YouTube and see different videos that Melvin interviewing Mafundi and how significant that is, because bringing political clarity to understanding colonialism and these concentration camps that we seeing. And it also, on that same clip we just watched with Mafundi, there's other clips on it. I mean, part of that video, I remember him saying, it stood out to me when just like Dessalines, he was like, we had organized a militant group that was like an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. If one of the officers killed one of us in prison, we killed one of them in prison. And it was clear that that type of clarity that's what they cannot withstand, because they want us to try to keep going through the processes that they put out in front of us. But when we define our own reality and define what's happening to us, it changes everything. It turns the world right side up. And that's why I appreciate African internationalism so much, because it turns the world right side up. And it stops us from trying to chase justice that they would never give and build the justice that we deserve. So I really appreciate that and think that's significant. And the fact that we have today the mother of Melvin Benu Ray and the sister of Melvin Benu Ray, who has to go through this process, of him being in prison, getting locked up, getting in a concentration camp. They have to go through this with them every day. The same with Mafundi, and Mafundi's family, you know, and with Maya and Carolyn, who couldn't be here today, they wanted to be here today, and we was hoping we was gonna get it on Zoom, but it was some conflict and Asada and the whole family, and it was the movement that say we got to take power in our own hands, and that's why we even declared when Mafundi passed away, March 1st to be Mafundi Lake Day, because we say who our heroes are, we uphold them, but we also, like the chairman said, have to go beyond the protest and beyond even taking power to uphold them, but we got to live like them and really do what's necessary to build the type of organization that we can go get them out and get the justice that we need. So I wanted to first bring Clara, I always want to say Gizzy, but I know the thing is Clara, Ray, and also Mama Ray and Ray up for them to say a few words, and then we'll have Asada and Maya come up too and say a few words. But I just want to show the significance of, you know, the power of the work that Mafundi is doing, the power of the work that Melvin is doing, and how we have the families here that's continuing and fighting for them, you know, even as we speak right now. And it's the movement that can bring clarity to this, and it's a movement that can give direction and deepen his understanding, so we can really build the justice that we need. So if y'all can come up and say a few words. And then after them, we'll have also Maya and Asada come up and say a few words as well.
Hello, I just wanted. Yeah, I'm sure. But first of all, I would like to thank everyone for coming out and for having this film showing here today. And we really appreciate it. And on behalf of my son, Melvin Ray, Benu, that we really appreciate this. And one thing I just wanted to say is, we never know what's going on behind those prisons. And this right here, what we've seen today, it's not even half of it. Right. But it gives us, you know, let us know what some of the stuff that is that they have to go through. And if they can do that behind the bars, then we can definitely do more out here. That's right. To support them. Right on. And all we have to do is come together. And not only for the men's, but women's too. They going through the stuff in prisons too that we don't know about. Because I know, you know, some young ladies that's behind bars that's going through a lot of stuff that we had to go and protest, you know, years ago for them to help them out. Because, yeah, there was, you know, a lot of stuff that was going on. It's really serious. And, you know, I just wanted to say, and I get emotional every time I watch this. It doesn't get any better each time. You know, you always see something that you missed before. And it's just so emotional. But I'm just so proud of my son to know that he's back there doing what he can to help other people. Thank you all for your support.
I'd first like to say thank you for this invite and taking the time to showcase this film. You know, one of the visits in November, went to go see my brother, and his son was like, why do you do what you do? Why are you fighting? Because a lot of inmates don't give that same support, or the people on the outside. And he said, it's not about me. Look around this room and look at everyone that you see. It's about the inmates. It's about the families. You know, a lot of them don't know how to fight. And as long as I'm in here, I'm gonna have to fight this fight too, in order to try to bring change within here and awareness. You know, one of his things is that, you know, he wants to be involved. And this has always been a part of his personality. It didn't start in prison. It just got elevated in prison. And because of that elevation, we have this film now where we can see what we're seeing, because once you see this, you can't unsee this. So we ask that, you know, we show this to everybody. We talk about this to everybody. You know, like even when I was on the plane coming here, I was talking to the gentleman about it. Now the film is on the airplane and I'm making sure I'm watching it. So someone next to me or behind me could see what I'm watching. So therefore, we can bring this awareness because it's not just Alabama. It's just happened to be a lot worse than, in Alabama. Because of the system there is, that slave mentality that, still embedded in people there. So again, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to bring me and my mother here to represent our brother, or my brother, her son, and the other two men in the film as well. Right now, they was in solitary confinement because there was supposed to be another shutdown. And they took them from their house prison and took them to this other prison where they have no connection to anyone else, but they did release my brother, and now he's housed at Donaldson, which is one of the worst prisons there is. So, and he even has some, threats from the guards and whatnot. So that's another thing that he's getting ready to work on with his lawyer. So it's still a fight, and there's still retaliate. It's worse retaliation against them now because of this film and this awareness. But again, I'd like to thank you. And my cousin just reminded me that we have, he has a website, and you can get to the website from the Alabama Solution, and then you go down to participants, and then you will see their picture there. And if you click onto his name, you can go and sign the change.org petition. So, we ask that you do that, and also ask other people to do it as well, to sign this petition. And hopefully we'll have him home this year. We got lawyers working on his case, and it looks good. So hopefully he'll be coming home this year. Thank you.
Yeah, and one of the things we've been talking about is that we in the southern region is really working to help strategize on how to move forward with some of the things and that's going on. And we have been participating. Even the first few Mafundi Lake days that we did, Bennu was actually on. He actually participated in he participated from prison in the Mafundi Lake Day. And we talked too about, even helping to strategize and participate in some of the protests. And we're going to continue to do that as well. And I want to bring Asada and Maya. I know Maya said a couple things, I know, brother. Yeah, but these are the daughters of Mafundi and Carolyn Lake. And anything I ever heard about Mafundi, even from Bennu, anything I ever heard about Mafundi is how courageous he was. And Mafundi didn't play. And Mafundi did not play. So I always really say we need to live like Mafundi, because one of the things that stood out to me and some of the things that I've seen him say is that, you will never be able to count me as one of the broken men. So I really appreciate that.
Uhuru. I'm Asada Lake. I'm the next to youngest child of Carolyn and Mafundi Lake. This is Maya Lake, the baby. So I'm just in a ball of emotions. I'm not an emotional person, but just watching this film is just bringing up so many, I would say, much needed emotions like anger, just ready to take on the world again, just trying to move the movements forward for our brothers in the film, as well as everybody across the nation. We consider Melvin Ray our big brother because he's been intricate in my dad's, especially his later years, just looking out for him. He would, and I'm going to read a statement from my mom. She wanted to be here, and she addresses that. Let me just go ahead and read that now. I'm not a speaker, first of all. So take these. So my mom really wanted to be here, and she wanted to express her gratitude to Melvin and the other men in the Free Alabama movement for checking on me and my family during Mafundi's years of incarceration by calling me, letting me know when they were messing with him or if he was in trouble. I felt very protected and informed when they would call with information regarding Mafundi. I appreciate the film they did with Mafundi talking about the horrible conditions in the prison as well as associating and supporting their families in some of their events and struggles. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there, but I'm sure our daughters will represent us well. They have their father's spirit, and they definitely know what the struggle is about. I know there is more work to do around the prison struggle. Uhuru. Is that fun? And also, I just wanted to say, Chairman, thank you for, and I'm not an emotional person. He's been there since my beginning, I know, so, and definitely hers, with my father, with my family, just making sure that we're taken care of over the years, wow. And even to this day, so he'll always be our other father, you know? So he's officially her godfather, but he's mine too. And just looking out for us, the Mafundi Lake, Lord Jesus, the Mafundi Lake Center, and just pushing us and encouraging us and supporting us with the Mafundi Lake Day. Can't thank our other big brother, Kobina. He's been an intricate part of just keeping our father's name alive. Yeah. So we can never, you know, give you all the recognition and appreciation that you deserve, but what we have, we do give. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it. And I'll say this last thing is that it's really an honor for me to be a part of this movement, and to be able to organize with Mafundi and Melvin and the whole Free Alabama movement and the work that we done around it. I mean, it's really an honor. And I remember when we first started organizing around Mafundi for me in Alabama, I remember the first conversation I think I had with Carolyn was she said that we wouldn't have came out for nobody else but the chairman. And she said, and not just to say who we are as a movement and who the chairman is as a leader, that they said that they wouldn't have started organizing after Mafundi's passing, because we called them up to come to Birmingham to Zenzele at the time, and the chairman had did a resolution for Mafundi, and for them to say that they wouldn't have came out for nobody else. I mean, it just goes to show the who the chairman is, who the movement is, and the work that we got to do. So I feel honored to be a part of all of it, and to say that I have been able to contribute anything to towards our liberation and towards you know, the work that's going on and trying to liberate us and deal with these prisons. So salute to the chairman, salute to the movement, and we're gonna do this till it's won. Uhuru.
Uhuru, and thank you. Next, we want to bring up, hold on, the President General of the Universal African Peoples Organization, Brother Comrade Zaki Baruti. Uhuru.
Uhuru. First and foremost, I'd like to make some quick acknowledgement of people. Want to first of all acknowledge Reverend Brian Moore for opening up his door for this very needed program. Let's give it up for him. Then, of course, I want to acknowledge Brother Omali Yeshitela, along with Penny Hess and Jesse Neville, for bringing this information to us.
And then also solidarity for one of the vice president of our organization, Sophia. She had death in her family, and you know, several of our members are there. As well as I was going to acknowledge Sister Coffee. I guess she must have just stepped out. Oh, there she is, a freedom fighter in her own right. And my good brother, Antoine, who travels across the states with me. Let me just say this. As the sister just said, as I was looking at the film, it took me back on several levels. It took me back to George Jackson, blood in my eye, letters from Soledad. It took me back to Attica, New York. And it also took me back right here in Missouri, where some brothers were praying, Reggie Clemens, and they were sprayed that Agent Orange stuff on them. And it just took me back to what we're dealing with. And I always like to try to put it in a graphic manner. We're dealing with some beasts. Beasts. And we have to look at it like that. And then as we build for self, but we have to build for self where we can be self-protected. Because as you see what happened in Nicaragua, as you see what's going on in Cuba with what they're strangling Cuba, we have to have a force, a real force that can counteract the madness that takes place day in and day out. Also, just real quickly, our organization back in 1992, in our publication at that time, we had the title that said, Worse Than South Africa, which was at the height of its apartheid system. The United States jailhouse of the Black nation. And at that time, we cited some statistics that Penny had brought up in terms of the United States being the leading incarcerator of people in the world. But at that time, the Black male population of the United States was right at 14 million. In South Africa, the Black male population was 15 million. However, in the United States, the incarceration of Black males was over 450,000 plus. South Africa was at only 109,000 plus. That's why we say the United States was worse than South Africa at the peak of South Africa wickedness in terms of apartheid. As well as Black males were 9% of the population at that time, yet 50% of the United States prison population. Nationwide, Blacks at that time, and still live, are imprisoned 9 times the rate of whites. I'm trying to look, I don't have my reading glasses, forgive me. Blacks also at that time served 20% longer prison time for similar crimes than white people. The United States prison population is 5% women. However, 80% of those were Black and Latino women. So the beat still goes on. It goes on. So the challenge for us is that, first of all, we got to recognize what we're dealing with. As I said earlier, we're dealing with a beast, in my estimation. And as we're in this church, I always say on the spiritual side, we need to be able to create a movement similar to the story of David that did what? Slew Goliath. Because this Goliath, this government destroys people's lives, not just here in this country, but across the planet. That's the struggle we got. And with the numbers we have, we still have to continue to march forward in the spirit of righteousness. Because if we don't, the future generations will continue to suffer from this beast. So on that note, I just wanted to give, that was a powerful powerful documentary. And I pray that it gets out there wide. But beyond seeing it, it's a clarion call for everybody that we must unite and come together to have a better world for all humanity. Thank you. Oh, I forgot to make an announcement. I'm sorry. And the women wing of our organization will be hosting a International Women's Solidarity Program on March the 7th at Legacy Cafe. We'll be sending out some information on that. But stay strong. We victorious.
Uhuru, thank you. Next, I'd like to bring up the People's Alderman, Brother Jesse Todd. Uhuru. Well, come on.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me thank you. Unite with the film. I unite with everything the previous speakers have said. As Malcolm X said, history is best qualified to reward our research. And we can look at the history of when we came over here. We've been in prison ever since we got here. We started off in prison in Africa, came over here in prison. And after the Civil War, the 13th Amendment says that if you're convicted of a crime, you're a slave. That's what it says. So it's no accident that the brothers and the sisters too are enslaved when they're in prison. And prison is the second fastest growing industry in America. So we either would be slaves in prison. We don't have a choice. We either get rid of the enslavement by organizing against the prison, and this, or we will continue to be slaves, and it's going to continue to grow because it's the only growth industry. So we don't have, and the money will be taken away, as it was said by the governor, from education, health, and all the other social programs. So we will be paying taxes for prison. So what we have to do is we have to organize, and we, instead of those jobs at the prison, it's a public works. It's a public works program. We know about the 1930s public works program. It was predominantly white, and this program is a public works. The prison program is a public program for predominantly white people, even though we saw some blacks in this prison, but in Missouri and in most states, those prisons are in the rural areas. They create the people who provide the material for the prison, those who that manufacture the stuff that it takes to make a prison, those who have the jobs are predominantly white people. And so and all the other things, and the people who, and even the state, as the chairman talks about the state, whether it be the prosecutors, the judges, the police, law enforcement officers, whoever it is, they have those public works jobs, but it continues to expand. And also, it's when the Census Bureau count the inmates, the prisoners as citizens, and also, and it provides any representation. The state representatives, state senators, and the U.S. representatives are actually counted as citizens, but the citizens out there in prison can't vote. So we have to change all of those things, and so it is working as planned. But what we need to do, and we need to continue to organize. We have great Barutis, the UAPO, the chairman Hess and Chairman Nevels, and all the other, and all the members and everyone. We must continue. What we have to do is continue to organize. One example, before the panels were broken up, we had the Panther moved from East St. Louis over to St. Louis, and they lived in my house, and we were running a prison busing program. And we had the families were involved, so we need to, those who had the resources available, we need to initiate those type of programs to organize the prisoners, educate them through. We already had the organs. Chairman UAPO has a newspaper and African People's Socialist Party already have a newspaper, so we can organize those. So we had the resources and to do it, and we need to just organize it. And it would benefit us because we need to recruit. We had a Malcolm X, we had a Sada Shakur already in those prisons. Once they're educated, we can see how they will struggle, how they will organize. And so we need to recruit them because they have a reason to fight. I mean, we all have a reason to fight, but I mean, they have more reason than many of us have to really continue to fight. We're fighting because we care about people, but they're fighting for their very existence. And so they will fight even harder. So those are the type. So when we say African women must lead, that is true. And then the African working class must lead, that is true. And the prisoners are part of the working class. And what we need to do, I unite with everything that was said. There's some great books that I've read and that I would like to, that if you want to read about some good stuff, I just read Chairwoman Hess's book, Overturning the Culture of Violence, for example. Sada Shakur, her autobiography. That's a great book to read. She talked about the history, the history of prison and what we can do. So those are the two books, as well as the newspapers again from the chairman and UAPO and many other books. But we need to continue to struggle. Again, I unite with everything that was said. Thank you very much for allowing me to say a few words. Uhuru.
All right, thank you. Thank you, the People's Alderman. And we're going to bring up Comrade Jesse and Stephanie to talk about some local work here that everybody that can be part of. And we're almost to the end of this program. We'd really appreciate everybody who has come out. And this is a very important part of it. So Stephanie.
And they do have
Jesse.
literature back.
And you're going to show a film at the end. Yeah.
Uhuru. I'm really honored to be part of this panel at this powerful event. And I'm representing the African Independence Workforce Program, which is part of the Black Power Blueprint here in North St. Louis. Next slide. The African Independence Workforce Program is one of the programs of the nonprofit, the African People's Education and Defense Fund, whose mission is to defend the civil and human rights of the African community and to put into practice programs that are defending the civil and human rights of the African community and bridging the disparities faced by the Black community in health, healthcare, education, and economic development. So I want to start by also saluting Chairman Omali Yeshitela of the African People's Socialist Party, who has succeeded in giving ideological, political, and organizational coherence to the anti-colonial movement that was nearly destroyed by colonial military assaults during the 1960s. Next slide. And I want to salute the president of the African People's Education and Defense Fund, Omali Yeshitela, who I have the honor of working under the leadership of. Omali Yeshitela is the brilliant architect of the Black Power Blueprint programs here in St. Louis, which are an extension of the work to build the independent, anti-colonial African economy. Next slide. The Black Power Blueprint also wants to salute and give a special recognition to the family of Mafundi Lake, Carolyn Lake, as well as the family that is here with us today. Next slide. The Black Power Blueprint has been transforming the north side of St. Louis through buying abandoned, dilapidated buildings and transforming them into self-reliance programs that uplift the community. We have a brief video at the end of this panel tonight that highlight a lot of these programs, and so we hope that you will stay and watch that brief video at the end. So these self-determination programs of the Black Power Blueprint are similar to those built during the Black Power movement of the 1960s and that were militarily attacked by the colonial state. Next slide. These assaults on African freedom fighters and the entire African community resulted in mass imprisonment of thousands of African people. Next slide. The 13th Amendment to the Constitution did not end slavery, it made slavery legal in prisons. The prison system, corporations, and capitalism in general benefit from the exploited free labor of African people, generating billions in a prison economy. Next slide. The Black Power Blueprint is recapturing the stolen labor of the African community to benefit the African nation. The AIWP slogan is, quote, "Our labor, our future." This is what distinguishes AIWP from other workforce programs. Next slide. So in 2023, the Black Power Blueprint, under President Ona's leadership, unveiled a completely renovated and furnished fourplex apartment complex just off of West Florissant that will house African men and women returning from the colonial prison system. Next slide. So this fourplex is named for Mafundi Lake, the heroic freedom fighter from Birmingham, Alabama, who spent so much of his life in the notorious Alabama prison system that we heard so much about today. The AIWP housing fourplex now carries his name, and each unit of the complex is named after an African political prisoner: Matula Shakur, Assata Shakur, Sundiata Akoli, and Desi X Woods. Next slide. In addition to housing, the AIWP is providing work experience and training at all levels. What is unique is that the training that is done is within the programs of the Black Power Blueprint institutions, like the Uhuru Bakery and Cafe, which will be opening soon on West Florissant. Next slide. Shambhala Uhuru Freedom Farm being installed and planted this spring also on West Florissant. Next slide. The Buy Black Power retail store, which is currently under renovation and will be a beautiful location on Natural Bridge and will also be an entrepreneurial training center for AIWP participants. Next slide. The Black Power Blueprint can provide AIWP participants with any of the jobs on this list through the programs that we just named. Next slide. But AIWP is not just about jobs. It's about returning agency back into the hands of the African community, creating the opportunity to become a stakeholder in a prosperous economy for the entire African community right here in North St. Louis. So you can join this work, you can volunteer, you can visit blackpowerblueprint.org, or you can visit our table. We have literature outside and sign up with the Black Power Blueprint today. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Uhuru. My name is Jesse Neville, and I'm the chair of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee, the organization of white people working under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, organizing in the white community for reparations to African people. And I just want to thank Stephanie and say that it's a profound honor to be here. That was incredibly moving to see that documentary again, and to hear the powerful words from all of the speakers. And I just want to start off by saying, free Benue, long live Mafundi Lake, reparations, Uhuru. So I'm honored to be up here to talk about the latest project of the Black Power Blueprint that Stephanie was just presenting on, which is called the Reparations Investment Company. And if you go to the next slide, so, the chairman talked about this earlier today, that this is a period where we have to go beyond protest. The chairman has said we have to go beyond just protesting the world as it is. We have to be involved in building the world that we want to live in. So capturing that vision is our slogan, inspired by the chairman's words a new world under construction. And I want to join in saluting the visionary leadership of our chairman, our leader, Omali Yeshitela, the leader who made reparations a household word, going all the way back to that 1982 tribunal where we saw Mafundi Lake speaking, the 1982 first tribunal on reparations to African people. And I want to also join in saluting Deputy Chair Onazinde Yeshitela, who is the visionary architect of the Black Power Blueprint and who shows in real practice what self-government of African people looks like, not just in St. Louis, but all around the world. And I also want to salute Chairwoman Penny Hess, who as the chair of the African People's Solidarity Committee for 50 years has worked under the party and the chairman's leadership to take the reparations demand into our white communities and win other white people to take the stand of solidarity with African liberation. And as the chairman has often talked about, as the Uhuru movement and the African community in this city often raise, the way North St. Louis appears today is not how it always was. Though it has long suffered under colonial domination, the stance of the African community of St. Louis has always been one of resistance to colonial domination, fighting for political and economic power. When you see today decaying properties, poverty, unemployment, homelessness on the north side, these are conditions that were not an accident, but the result of policy. They were by design. The so-called Del Mar divide that separates the south side, where most of the white population lives, at the expense of the poverty, the colonial poverty imposed on the predominantly African north side. And this goes back generations. The chairman said after that brutal, devastating tornado last year that it didn't start with the tornado. Mill Creek Valley, so many other African communities that were destroyed, the city-sponsored Team 4 plan that allowed the north side to deteriorate, to displace and gentrify the north side. This is the history of St. Louis. But the Black Power Blueprint is a response to these conditions of colonialism that African people face. We can go to the next slide. Many of you have already seen the profound rebuilding of North St. Louis that APEDF President Onazinde Yeshitela has initiated. The Black Power Blueprint has demolished buildings on the north side that have been pushed into states of decay to demoralize the African community and built them up into the programs of the Black Power Blueprint. And these are some of the buildings that were involved in that process of building the Black Power Blueprint. So the Reparations Investment Company is the latest expansion of this Black Power Blueprint, created by APEDF President Onazinde Yeshitela to revitalize, beautify, and uplift North St. Louis without gentrification, without displacement, through genuine community-driven redevelopment as a positive alternative to gentrification and colonialism. It is a direct answer to the question, what does reparations really mean? What does it really look like on the ground? It looks like restored homes, stabilized neighborhoods, and a community building power through ownership and development under its own leadership. And so St. Louis, that is notorious for the Del Mar divide, will become known around the world as a model city of reparations and justice. Next slide. So this is Reparations in Action. RIC was created to build a reparations-driven model of community development to restore and improve housing stock on the north side without displacement and to expand Black community control over land, housing, and economic life. And I'm really excited to say that the work is already underway. And we're very proud to work with Angel and Elliott Constructions, who have been involved in active renovations work on so far 3 properties on the north side, a 4-plex apartment building, which will be for rental housing, and 2 single-family homes, which will ultimately be for sale. And these are just some pictures we can go through quickly that show you some of the properties that have been acquired through the Reparations Investment Company, ending with a vision of what these properties will look like once they go through the Deputy Chair Onazinde Yeshitela style transformation of the Reparations Investment Company. So we call on people to get involved. We have a meeting tomorrow at 12. We have flyers that you can get on the table outside with more information about how to sign up to join the work to build the Reparations Investment Company. And anybody who is interested in becoming an investor and investing in self-determination on the north side can contact email at info@uhurusolidarity.org, talk to me after this meeting, check out the information on the flyers. This is a fixed return investment. People can actually earn interest while supporting self-determination and renewal on the north side. So just want to, again, call for people to get involved. This is something concrete happening right now in this city that we can be a part of. We call on white people to join us as a stand of reparations, as a stand of solidarity with African people, as a stand to say no more genocide in our name, no more colonial mass incarceration in our name. And Saturday, February 28th, if you go to the next slide, we have a volunteer work day. We want everybody to come out and be a part of rebuilding a home on the north side, starting at 9 a.m. So we have, again, more information that you can see about that. And that's where I'll close. Thank you so much.
Uhuru.
Uhuru, and thank you for that. And please make sure that you visit the table on your way out if you didn't have the opportunity or to pick up some of the literature. Stop at the table on your way out so you can find out about these programs that you can actually get involved in right here in St. Louis today, right now. Uhuru. And next, I would like to bring up the international president of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, who will share some more information with you about what you can do, how you can get involved, and that's Comrade President Lucade Maku. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Uhuru, as Chairman said, Uhuru means freedom in Swahili. It's our greeting word of freedom to you all, because it is, we say Uhuru because we believe that freedom must be on the minds of African people 24 hours a day. And it's freedom that, well, what you saw in that movie, that's what the comrades are fighting for. That's what the Uhuru movement is fighting for. It should be on the minds of African people 24 hours a day because that's what it takes to be free. And so I want to appreciate everyone for coming here. And I do also want to say that we do have the Burns Bear newspaper has a Mafundi Lake prisoner subscription program. This is essentially a sponsored prisoner fund. And it allows the Burns Bear newspaper, the oldest Black revolutionary newspaper in publication, to be, for the prisoners, the brothers and sisters who have been incarcerated, to have the Burns Bear newspaper in their hands. This is a lifeline. It is so beloved in the prisons that it gets passed around until it is worn out. And this is this allows for those brothers and sisters who are currently locked down behind enemy lines to be able to have a lifeline to the outside world to know what's going on, and also to have their own African working class analysis to what's going on, so that these brothers and sisters, not everyone has a Mafundi Lake right in front of them that's right next to their cell, or that's part of their settlement and things like that. The reality is we are going to have to develop these, so that what you see from the Free Alabama movement isn't just some isolated thing. There's an organization that allows them to get connected and to do the work. And anyways, so please do support the Mafundi Lake Prison Subscription Program. And if you do have a brother, sister, or someone that you know who is currently incarcerated, we can get the spear out to them. It's a free copy of the spear, monthly copies of the spear. You can sign them up. You can go to theburningspear.com/prisoner fund. Oh, well, it's free for those who are incarcerated. But if you like to donate, you can donate, at whatever capacity that your heart tells you to, But yeah, outside of that, there's real work that we need to do here in our communities. I want to invite everyone to come tomorrow and every Sunday, we hold a Sunday rally, which is essentially a Black community meeting that we host here in St. Louis. It's just about 3-minute drive. It's on the intersection between West Florissant and Alice. It's by the basketball court, the community garden. It's going to be at the Uhuru House. And in these community meetings, we work to organize the community. These are organizing meetings that we use to organize the community in order to effectively change, our conditions and have power over our own lives. That's what you see for the Black Power Blueprint and many other, work that we host here in St. Louis. But I don't have anything else. So thank y'all so much. And Uhuru.
Right, Uhuru, thank you for that. The Uhuru House is located at 4101 West Florissant, excuse me, and every Sunday, again, as was said, from 3 to 5 p.m., our Black community rallies are held, and we invite everyone to come out. I do want to thank everyone for coming, and before we close, we'd like to share with you this dynamic African Independence Workforce Program video. And just to say that Uhuru and we are winning. So if you'll please take a look at the film. It's the video, Uhuru.
Uhuru. Uhuru.